Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Byte-Sized Brief in the first episode of 2026. And we don't have too much, new, product announcements in a sense, from companies, but more just, news about, developments and other interesting things like that today. So, yeah, without further ado, let's jump in with our first topic today is apparently Florida is planning to install wireless induction roadways to charge electric cars as you drive. What do you know about this, Sterling?
Okay, so Florida is like, we're going to take all the highways and freeways, all those, and we're going to put wireless induction coils underneath the roads. So as you're driving, there's a wireless receiver on your car and it's charging as you go. But if you've ever used wireless charging, you know how inefficient it is. If you put your phone on wireless charger, it charges very slowly. And then your phone is it's extremely hot. It's like a hot brick out of the oven. It's extremely hot. It's inefficient. So I think this is a good idea for the most part. This will help you get more range as you drive. But it's not really practical because just wireless charging is not practical in its form. And especially because wireless charging, you have to put a stationary object on it. Like if you put your phone down, you have to line up the coils to charge. If you're doing an induction roadway, you can't just stop in the middle of the road and wait for your car to charge. How is it going to be charging you as you're moving? Because you're going to be moving along coils and coils. I'm sure engineers have thought about this and figured some way out. But in my opinion, I don't think this is a good idea whatsoever.
Yeah, so a long time ago, I saw this thing of this big thing that it would wirelessly charge your phone without an actual pad touching it. But I'm pretty sure that was fake. I don't know. I'm sure they have some sort of technology that they can figure out how to do this. But I also don't think it's practical because right now they are only really talking about one interstate. I think a few actually. But I guess the whole idea is, trying to make electric cars the new standard or whatever. But the thing is it's gonna take a lot more than this one roadway for this to become c good for electric cars. My brain went blank there with the word for that. But, of course, they can't build every single road all at once. But I don't think because another thing is, if you stop at an electric car charging station, you have to pay for that. So are you gonna have to pay to drive on these roadways as it charges your car? Are you gonna have to get a special car that has it built in? Is there gonna be something you have to buy to hook it up? How complicated is this gonna be? What does this look like for non-electric cars? I just think that this really isn't needed for electric cars. I know they don't have good range, but I don't think it would extend that much. So I really don't think this is needed, and I think it's just gonna cause a big hassle more than improving it more. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you're driving along, I don't know how much range you're going to be able to get. Because if let's say you go for 5 miles, what are you going to get 1 mile back? Which is something, absolutely. But I almost guarantee it is going to be a lot less than what you just drove. It may be even 10 times less. Maybe in 10 miles you get 1 mile. It may be 20 miles you get 1 mile. It's not going to be great. I'm going to put it that way, especially because they're going to have to shut down the roads, install them, and make sure that they're functioning at all times. And especially because especially electronics that are used in roadways and stuff, break a lot. Because there's going to be cars driving over them all the time, and they're going to be under cement. So how often are they going to have to be repaired? How often are they going to be working? And how much inconvenience is this going to do just for regular road drivers?
Yeah, that's another thing, durability and everything. I think if this does happen, I don't think they're gonna do this all over because it's probably not gonna do well, and it's maybe one of those things where, like, for the first month or 2, it stays maintained, but then it just slowly stops being maintained, and then eventually it doesn't even work at all. So, overall, with the current technology, I don't know what technology they have, but I don't think it's a good idea because 'cause they're saying, like, costing nearly $550 million. That's a lot of money, and then, of course, will you have to pay to drive on the road? Because, like, what if you get, like, a more modern car that has it built in, like, what if there's not an option to not charge? Because I mean, with wireless charging, it would still technically, I guess, receive the energy. So, like, I don't know about that, honestly. I don't know how they're planning on doing that if this actually happens. So, yeah.
I think it's a pretty much a bad idea around the board. It's going to be expensive to maintain. It's going to be hard to keep up running properly. It's not going to be efficient, and it's going to be just a hassle for people who don't have electric cars. And so I see Florida trying to do something good, but their execution of it, not great.
Yeah. And, I'm not the biggest fan of electric cars. I mean, I don't have really much of a problem with it. I guess my family more does because of, things they think. I don't know. I'm not a car person. I don't know what all is true. I've heard sometimes they're not safe. So overall, like I said, you know, that's not that good. But something that is even worse than this is a Chinese company called CXMT is allegedly, or we're not exactly sure, but stealing trade secrets from Samsung DRAM facilities and buying the info from a supposed retired employee. And apparently, this wasn't the only case of this happening lately with Samsung. What do you know about this, Sterling?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're having a RAM shortage, and China is seeing this as a great opportunity to start selling their own in-house made. Because right now, most of all the RAM is made in Taiwan and South Korea by Samsung or by TSMC or a company like TSMC. But China's CXMT, the one that is supposedly stealing the information, they have had RAM, just not good RAM. Their RAM was okay. It wasn't super fast. It wasn't super efficient. It wasn't super reliable. So, a former Samsung employee is allegedly s- taking the information that he still had from like the trade secrets of how this RAM is built, like the flow rates of all the chemicals that go through the machine to make like the conditions stable for the DRAM production, like which kind of machinery they use, a bunch of the like production steps were allegedly getting leaked or sold to CXMT by China. Now, we're not 100% positive that this has happened. It is still possible because it's rumored that this is happening. I think it was, they said 600 pages of classified information was um, stolen or given. And honestly, I don't see how bad this is. I mean, yes, this is going to take a big financial hit for Samsung because if their RAM is exactly like carbon copied, they're going to get sales hit. But this is also good because we're in a RAM crisis right now. So if another company like CXMT starts producing their own RAM, that could maybe get us out of the RAM crisis, but also maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously not I mean, not necessarily a good thing, but with the RAM shortage and everything and us needing more RAM to supply everything, I mean, I don't necessarily know if I want the RAM in my device coming from some sketchy company that may or may not have stolen their process from Samsung, because the quality may not be as good. I don't know. And this is all, like you said, not 100% confirmed. And I've also seen some other things like this happening with Samsung going to different RAM companies. So I don't know, but I don't think this will necessarily get us out of the RAM crisis. Of course, it will be bad for Samsung. It might help a little bit. It's just I don't necessarily know if I want my RAM coming from a company like that. But then in the state that we are at, that might be the only option for now. But, I don't know, maybe Samsung will sue this company, maybe I don't know what's gonna happen with this if it turns out it's true, but the RAM shortage, which we talked about on, like, the last podcast episode, really has been really hitting really hard, and it seems like it's going to definitely be plaguing 2026.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because Micron just said, hey, we're not selling consumer products anymore. I mean, Micron was the place I went to buy my stuff. If I bought RAM or hard drives and stuff, I bought from Micron because they were cheap and they're reliable. Where do I go now? They just said, hey, we're not selling consumer products anymore, like indefinitely or like for the near future, which is absolutely absurd. They were like the biggest people in like consumer RAM products. They weren't the top of the line, but they were good priced. I mean, I got a 16 gig RAM kit from them for like $20, which all the other competitors were like $40 at the time, which, I mean, it was a good deal because it wasn't any worse. But now, with this RAM crisis, I'm assuming, I don't know how much CXMT is going to help in this situation. It might help a lot, or this might be just cheap, bad RAM being thrown out.
Yeah, that's my concern, honestly, because, in times like this where we have this RAM crisis and RAM shortage going on, people will, do anything to try to help it, but just because 'cause they're making RAM doesn't mean it's good RAM. You don't know the history behind it, like in this case. So, I really just hope by hopefully next year this thing will be over, but the progress of AI evolving, which we also kinda talked about in the last episode, is just eating away at everything, which there's also something related to that we'll talk about later in this episode. But I just hope that everything in mine does not break. I don't need to get any more RAM for like 5 years. Of course, who knows what it will be like in 5 years.
Yeah, but enough of the bad news. Let's get on to some good news, where Gmail is testing out a new feature which allows you to get a new Gmail address, but keep your old one at the same time. You don't have to make a new Gmail account. You get to keep your old account just with a new email address, which a lot of people have been asking for years because you made that Gmail account when you were 8 or 10 years old. It probably has the weirdest name ever. I've seen so many random examples of just like people that I just interact with every day, and they have the weirdest email address. I'm like,
Yeah.
how did you come up with this? How did you remember this? And now they're finally letting you change it.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that really I'm so glad it's happening because, like you were saying, with people and all their email addresses and everything, I'm pretty sure we all have that one email that has some weird name of it or whatever. But yeah, this is actually really good. I'm not like I wouldn't use it often, but I think it would come in handy so much. Like if I had made a Gmail account in the past that had a really weird username. I can change it without losing data and all that stuff. Of course, most of my Gmails aren't as weird because I started out with an iCloud account. That one's the weirdest one out of mine, but you can't change your iCloud account. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also, it doesn't get rid of your old email. It just uses your old email as an alias. So in other words, all the emails going to your old email address, you'll still get them, but you can now use your new email address for everything new that you sign up. So you're not losing anything when you switch your Gmail address, which also could be for like security reasons. Let's say if there was a data breach and your email got leaked. And if you just change your Gmail address, you can keep your account, everything, but you don't have to be bombarded with a bunch of emails or a bunch of scams or people trying to break into your account without having to create a whole entire new email.
Yeah. So, will people like still be able to see your old email address then?
Yes, people will be able to see your old email address because they can still send emails to it. But you can now give out your new email address to all the new things you sign up for, or change your old email addresses on the different websites. Let's say if you have a Walmart account, you can change it to the new email address or keep it as your old one. You'll still get emails from your old address, but you also have this new one that you can use and it'll go to the exact same place.
Oh, okay, interesting. I thought it would just change it over everything, but I guess that makes sense because then people wouldn't know your new email. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just a fallback in case if for those reasons.
Yeah. And speaking of AI, there is even more crazy news about AI. And really, it just this is like we were hoping 2026 wouldn't be all AI. Well, I doubt that's happening. So yeah, apparently AI, well, not AI companies, but a company is proposed to buy two nuclear submarine reactors from like the old stuff or whatever to power AI data centers. Although I have heard some people say it's just gonna be data centers. I'm not sure if it's AI or not, but I'm pretty sure it's AI. But this is just crazy because we already had the jet turbines from last year. I mean, you're gonna come in this facility, you're gonna have a nuclear reactor, a jet turbine, who knows who knows what else the next. Oh, no, they're gonna put that jet turbine and the nuclear reactor in space. That's probably what they're gonna do, like we heard what Google was doing.
I mean, this kind of makes sense because nuclear power is extremely efficient, but at the same time, I don't really trust the companies to run nuclear reactors because they would have to have extremely specialized people understanding how to deal with nuclear waste, how to replace nuclear power inside of it, and make sure that they're running it at safe operations. We don't need another nuclear meltdown or anything. But it's rather random that they're like, hey, you know that those two submarines, they're out of commission. Can we buy those submarines? Yeah, we'll just harvest all the organs out of the submarine, make them into and power this AI. And what are they going to do with the rest of the submarines? Which is kind of strange. They're just going to have it sitting in their yard or anything. But with the power that I don't know how much power they're going to be able to produce. I know nuclear power is super efficient, super, it's not much, just a little bit of uranium can make so much power. But at the same time, nuclear submarines don't use too much power, at all. I mean, they use a lot of power, but they don't use as much power as a regular jet turbine, or they don't use as much power as a regular nuclear power plant. I don't know how much power they're going to be able to get from these engines.
Yeah, and kind of thinking about this more, I don't know how in the world they are going to manage this nuclear reactor. They're gonna you can't just put the nuclear reactor in the warehouse and start it up unless you want to kill everyone, cause a huge explosion, and all that stuff. Honestly, it'd be better off if they literally just built a nuclear power plant just to power a data center than getting these nuclear engines from old things. I could see so much going wrong with this. And
Oh, absolutely.
this just goes to prove so much more that AI is just consuming and consuming our resources. It's already taking so much power from our grid, and it's taking so much RAM. We're needing these huge things for it. Thing is I haven't really noticed ChatGPT being more helpful in the past year, but it is consuming times more. And it's like, when will this stop? Like,
Hmm.
we're the RAM shortage might not get better, it might get worse. It's like, this just cannot keep going. And this year, I just really hope that we have something different besides AI, and these AI companies will just calm down a little bit.
Also, I'm going to add to that because you know how the RAM shortage is happening. We're also possibly having a GPU shortage now because the GPU uses DRAM for the GPU. So there's RAM on the GPU. And now GPU companies are like, hey, we don't really have much RAM. It's rumored right now to be a shortage. It may not be a shortage after all, but there's a good chance it's going to be a shortage. And even AMD's X3D chips, They're slowing down production because they're kind of the process to make the extra RAM is getting a lot more expensive or something on the lines of that. And like you said, AI is just consuming everything. It's consuming power, RAM, GPUs, CPUs, all of it. It's just taking so much in to make it work, and we're not getting too much out of it right now. I mean, maybe in the future it'll be more useful, but right now it's just a chatbot. It is easier in home integration with Google Home. It's a better way to talk to your assistant, but it hasn't been entirely useful yet. It hasn't like done something groundbreaking that fixes a huge problem that we're experiencing.
Yeah. I feel like AI really I mean, we take the companies act like it's this groundbreaking thing, but in our day-to-day lives, it's not really a groundbreaking thing yet. And I feel like the word AI is kinda just like a buzzword right now. It has to be AI, put AI in that, AI that, AI that, AI that. Companies, like, for example, Apple with Apple Intelligence, they pretty much made a fake tech demo just because they wanted to make people know it's AI because of the investors, and they want it because, it's the big thing right now. You gotta be on this big AI thing, but it's not really genuinely made a difference in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, it's been over a year since they announced Apple Intelligence, and haven't really done anything to prove that it can do those things. Like, it was supposed to look at your texts, be able to automatically schedule a meeting for you, and basically look at your calendar and, like, see if there's any conflicts on your calendar, and do all of these things for you, which it can't do yet. And it's just
Yeah.
everyone's just trying to jump on this AI train. It's like, "Hey, we got AI too. We got AI too. Oh, yes, our beds are now made with AI. Our bed has a AI-focused design that shuts down when, Amazon web servers go down." But
Yeah.
it it's not helping that much. Maybe once it does something completely useful, maybe it revolutionizes, like, transportation. Maybe it revolutionizes, like, ways you cure diseases. Once it gets to that point, that's useful. But right now, it's not that useful.
Yeah, and you'll see these things be like, "AI is replacing doctors." No, it's not. It's not yet. It's the problem. And there might be small scale things or something that's in testing somewhere, but that's only one place. If I go to the hospital right now, there's not gonna be an AI robot performing surgeries, at least not in our local hospital.
No.
And even then, people aren't gonna trust the AI robots. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
if you if you needed, like, your kidney taken out, would you trust Gemini to do it? Like,
Oh, absolutely not. No. I mean,
yeah,
Gemini
so
recommends eating 3 small rocks per day.
yeah. So, yeah, it's just not helpful, and it's consuming everything, but these companies just keep going with yeah, they just keep going.
Yeah, let alone consuming our resources, it's also consuming all of our, like, data. Like, it keeps stealing from all these companies. It steals all the web articles, all the music. Speaking of stealing music, a company just decided to download 95% of all of Spotify, and it's now free to torrent. I'm sorry, what?
So, of course, I don't use Spotify, but this is just, like because, like, first of all, from what I heard, it's actually 99.5% of
Oh,
everything.
never mind.
But, and the thing is this company or whatever, it's basically like they just, like, tweeted, like, "Oh, hey, we just stole all Spotify stuff. Click here, you can listen onto it free." It's like they publicly admitted it almost from what I know, I'm not 100.
Yeah, they did. They went out and literally tweeted that they downloaded that much of Spotify. and they say it's available to torrent. Torrent is a pirate's way of downloading stuff, so it comes from 3 different servers at the same time, all coming to you at once. It's supposed to be undetected or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how torrenting works, but I've torrented, like, for f I okay, long story. I've torrented to test what it is because I didn't know what it was. So I tried it. I couldn't figure out how to really use it. I forgot what it was. It was, what was it? It was a modded version of a Windows application. It looks like Adobe Photoshop or something like that. It was a modded version that you could torrent. I mean, I got the download. It took 2 hours, but I got the download. And
So
the point of torrenting is so people can't find you. It's like, point of torrenting is to be like secretive. And for them to be like, hey, we download all Spotify for you to secretly download without letting anyone know. That's something.
yeah, because first of all, this will hurt Spotify because, if they have any exclusive songs not on other services, plus then you can get it for free. And also, it's just pure piracy to all the artists who made the songs. And yeah.
Yeah, and right now the company is hiding behind the walls like, hey, we are archiving this for future, looking back history. And I have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. Because yes, okay, you archived it, but now you're making this paid content, this content that people worked on, this content that people lives depend on, and you're making it free for everyone to use. It's like me punching a hole in the side of a restaurant and just taking all the food the restaurant's making and giving it out for free. If I just go to the nearest Chick-fil-A, rip a hole in the side of the wall, and just start taking sandwiches and giving it out for free, Chick-fil-A is not going to make any money. No one's going to buy Chick-fil-A because they get it for free.
Yeah, so for me, of course, it doesn't really impact me, and I guess it doesn't impact the customer at all because now you can get it for free by pirating it, but it impacts Spotify and mainly the artists that make the songs and things like that. And it's just so funny to me, people these days will just publicly, openly admit they did this. I mean, come on.
Do you think there's going to be any repercussions for them doing this? Do you think they're going to get in trouble or anything? Or do you think they're just going to be let go, like all these AI companies that are just stealing stuff?
Honestly, I don't know how to answer that because I could see it going either way. I hope something happens to them, frankly, but I could see it going either way. So, I don't know.
Yeah. For me, if I was in this situation and someone was stealing my music, I absolutely would pursue. Let's say if I made music and someone just made it free for everyone to download, I would absolutely pursue legal action, which I do believe that Spotify probably is going to do. But because they're hiding behind the thing like, hey, we're archiving it for history, I think they can just hide behind it and say, hey, we're archiving it for history. You can't do anything to us. Like all these other places are archiving websites, and that's not piracy. And I could see them just getting off the hook for free or absolutely sued to the ground. Either one.
Yeah, this could go really big. So, moving on, this is one of the more funny kind of, I guess, lighthearted or whatever stories. But apparently, the Sega Dreamcast, which came out like over 20 years ago, I think, at this point, or around
Yeah,
that,
over 20 years ago.
apparently it had some sort of web browser, and Google finally ended support for it. Like, why? I mean, like, why didn't they do that sooner? How did it work with modern internet technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So it they've had this web browser for 25 years. They released it 25 years ago. But the thing is, if you go to google.com, it depends on what version you're on. If you are on an old web browser, it'll automatically revert to an old version of Google Chrome. I figured that one out a couple times. On the Nintendo 2DS and 3DS, they have a web browser. And if you go to Google, it will open a very old version of Google. Okay. But the thing is, they've updated even that old browser that was able to run on the Dreamcast. It no longer works because they stopped supporting SLT web version, which after using like the old versions on Nintendo 3DS and 2DS, it just would automatically load a old version of the web browser. If you were to go to google.com, it would load an old version. And that old version was slightly updated for security standards or something like that, and it accidentally broke the Dreamcast browser, which, mind you, is 25 years old. And Google kills products all the time. In fact, there's even a website called Killed by Google, which they have 299 services that they have killed, including Tables A21. Don't know what that is. Google Jamboard. Chromecast hardware box, not actual Chromecast. VPN by Google One, which I personally used. Google Podcasts, which turned into YouTube Music. They've killed good services that I've personally used before they've actually like killed something that practically no one uses. I mean, I don't know who would be using the Dreamcast at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was probably for, like, old PCs, like, someone out there still running that chunk Windows PC with Windows 7 or whatever. Of course, I don't know why Google didn't kill it. It's just like, I don't know, maybe they forgot about it. I may that may they were just like, "Oh," but then why would they update it? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just Google is so known for killing so many things, and then they just took forever just to kill something that they should have done a long time ago. I mean, I'm pretty sure there would have been major security concerns with that old version of Google Chrome or Google search.
Yeah. So, moving on, we have some more s interesting slash trade secret stealing. Well, it's not trade secret, but, people doing things they shouldn't be doing topics, and that is a North Korean worker posing as an American. I think he was working at an Amazon, like, IT facility or something, but Amazon found out he was in North Korea due to the latency and because he was using, like, a remote connection software.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like when you do anything on anything, if you press like a keystroke, it takes time for it to process the keystroke, send it to your computer processes, and then do the action on screen. They noticed that the latency was about 120 milliseconds, which is about a tenth of a second, which in our minds is really fast. But in computer terms, that is extremely slow. So they figured out that he was not from America, even though that he was using a VPN to show that he was in America. He had American like identity and everything. But they were able to identify that is taking way too long for him to do anything. We send a request, it comes back 120 milliseconds later. That is way too long for it to be domestic. So they did an investigation into it and they found, hey, he's a North Korean worker that is draining the US economy to help like North Korean's economy. I don't know how economics work, but apparently it helps North Korean's economy or something like that. And they caught him doing that. And they also caught some other like Chinese workers too doing that. But that is actually really clever. I would have not expected them to be able to figure that out just because a 120 millisecond ping.
Yeah, I don't know how they would I mean, I don't even know how they did that then, but I wouldn't have expected that either. But it
Yeah.
just seems like these North Korean people it's like the whole entire North Korean population are just scammers, like, that's their normal job. It seems like. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot more behind that. It's not exactly that. They're just forced to work for the government to drain the US economy or to buff up their economy. I don't know exactly how that works, but I know our currency technically is more stable than North Korean currency, even though it's inflating a lot. So they're trying to get our currency on their side. I don't know how economics work. I'm doing that next
Yeah,
semester,
I don't
so.
know. either. But yeah, definitely not a good thing, and I'm sure there's probably more of this going. I'm sure there's probably actually a lot of these workers, so who knows? Maybe Amazon will add this to their tool belt when it comes to catching people like this.
Hopefully they do. And the EU is on a hot streak. They're not just okay, they've done some good things and some bad things. But this next thing that they're doing, I personally think is a good idea. They're making AirPods more compatible with other devices and forcing Apple's like Fast Pair to work better with third-party devices.
So, yeah, basically, when you have AirPods and you open them up, you don't have to go into settings, go to Bluetooth, and then click it. It will automatically connect and pair, and it will switch between different devices. Well, the EU is forcing Apple to make this work with third-party headphones. Now, I haven't heard about it work like AirPods doing it with other devices, but I haven't heard about that, but I have heard about, making other third-party devices work like that. But honestly, I mean, I get this is a good thing. It is a good thing, but, like, this goes back to, like, I think it was from one of our older episodes when we were talking about I think it was, like, the app migration thing they were trying to force. It's maybe a good thing, but they are just controlling Apple. And like I said in that podcast, it seems like they had this thing with Apple because they forced them to put USB-C on their phone. They forced them to do that. They forced other companies like Samsung, I think, or something. They forced Apple to like remove some. They're just forcing everything. It seems like on Apple, and I mean not just Apple, but it's a lot of the news is around Apple.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I don't like that. Like, they're taking away what the companies can do, and I'm not saying that the things that they were forcing were bad, like, I love USB-C, and having your AirPods having third-party headphones connect to your device like AirPods is a good thing if you can't afford AirPods or you don't want AirPods or whatever. But I just don't like you forcing Apple or telling Apple how to make their device, how to make their software and other things. Because I can see some points, like, I think the whole thing with, switching between Android and iPhone is more of a thing that I would see being more forcible because I guess it'd be more of an essential thing almost. But, like, there's a limit there, and I think they've kind of crossed that limit with stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. So even with my Samsung Galaxy Buds, they automatically switch between my devices just fine. Well, besides Windows. Unless you have a Samsung Galaxy Book, it does not switch between Windows well. Because Windows Bluetooth is trash. I'll just say that. But they automatically switch between my devices if I had a Galaxy Chromebook. Like whenever I'm like on a workout, it'll automatically switch to my watch and read out my heart rate, all of that, and then switch back to my phone. Or it'll even switch to both at the same time where it reads it out and plays music on my phone at the same time.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
what AirPods do too.
yeah. So, but also, switching between devices is not a new feature. Like for, I think it was the Sony earbuds, they do that too, where they switch between devices. You don't have to be in an ecosystem or anything like that. So I don't see why they're doing this. I mean, this is a good thing. I think this is great that they're not forcing. Because that's the problem. They're forcing you to do it. It's not like, hey, can you do this? It's like, you're going to do this or else. Which was good for USB-C because they needed to, Lightning was slow and USB-C is just more standard. But then at the same time, they're forcing them to make it move to Android Kit, which is a good thing. But also, if I was Apple in this situation, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to be able to let your customers just move over platforms as easily as possible. And Apple is getting a hard rap on this because they are very monopolistic in like their approaches to like ecosystem and stuff like that, which I understand. If I was that company, that is an amazing way to make profit. At the same time, people see that and they just think instantly bad. that means that's bad. That means that's bad. That means that it's not bad. It is just a company doing company things and then making money, which is good for the user. Because if I had a Samsung Galaxy book, phone, earbuds, and they switch between devices instantaneously, that's not bad. That's a good thing. But it's the fact that if they don't allow it to work on other devices. But no one said that they are making it where Apple's forcing things not to work that way. Is it where the earbuds are not allowed to switch between devices? Or is it that they haven't implemented it? Let's say Sony. Is Sony unable to make that happen? Or have they just not implemented it? Do you know?
I I don't I honestly don't 100% know that, but I don't think they're forced not to do it. I just think they haven't honestly implemented it. I I just I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I guess maybe they could do that, but I'm not 100% sure. But kinda talking about the EU again real quick. Yes, they forced Apple to do good things, but they've also forced them to do bad things, like the whole, app tracking transparency thing that they are forcing Apple to stop doing. That is not a good thing. It's
Mm,
because I think they wanted, like, information or something, but that means that the user is gonna have less security. That is not a good thing, and it kinda shows you kinda behind some of the EU intentions, I think. But, I mean, okay, it's fine. I used to use third-party headphones. I didn't mind really having to connect them. Is it automatically switching amazing? Yes. I love that, but I don't I and I don't know. I think Apple should just do that if they want to. Or it could just be the other headphones because you have a lot of these cheaper headphones or whatever. Like, wouldn't there have to be something on the actual device's end to connect to it automatically? I don't know.
yeah. For connecting automatically, that happens on Android at least. It happens with all earbuds. You just open the case, and the first time setting them up, as long as if they don't have Android Fast Pair. Android Fast Pairs, you open them up, they pop up on your screen, you press connect. Um, b- but then with like third party that don't support Android Fast Pair, you go into Bluetooth settings, connect it for the first time, and then they'll automatically keep connecting. But for multi-point switching, that is a feature of Bluetooth 5.3, I think, 5.2 or 5.3. It's a feature built into Bluetooth itself, where I don't think it's a mandatory feature, but it's an optional feature. And that does work on iPhone already. Where I just looked it up, it does work on iPhone, where you have connected to one device and another device, it will automatically switch between them. It won't use the same protocol that Apple uses, where it automatically detects if there's a phone call coming in on this device, or will automatically detect if there's something being read out on this device. It'll just, is there audio playing this device? Okay, switch that device. Oh, is there audio playing this device? Well, now switch this one. That's the basis of like the Bluetooth implementation. It doesn't understand that there's a phone call coming. It doesn't understand that there's music playing on this and a video playing on this. So I'm assuming the EU is basically saying you have to use your own in-house implementation, which I don't think they should be able to do that, especially because they're forcing them to do so many things that aren't good. Like you were saying that they were forcing the anti-app transparency thing to be removed, which is just absolutely backwards, where it's making less security for the user. It's making less security for Apple as a company because they're looked as, hey, why don't you support this feature anymore? And it's just a bad condition for everyone, but the EU themselves, because like the EU and the apps can track you more. They'll be able to identify stuff about you more. And this was a rumor. I'm not exactly sure if this is true, but back then the EU were forcing, I think it was Signal or WhatsApp, to drop end-to-end encryption in the EU. I think this was a rumor. I think it was debunked. But
I do think I heard something about that at one point though, so
yeah, I do remember hearing about it. So I don't know if it was like a bill that was proposed and like shot down, or if it was like a bill and then like, hey, we didn't actually mean that, and they were planning to do it. And like, oh wait, people don't like this. We can't do this. I don't know exactly how that went through, but
yeah.
this is like the EU is basically saying, hey, we want to have more surveillance over your people. Hey, we don't think Apple should have the right, or Samsung or Google in this case, should have the right to say no to being tracked.
Yeah. I just I don't like the EU, frankly. Um, honestly, not be just because of their nature and everything. Like,
Yeah,
why?
absolutely.
I think it's just to
They're
their
not like,
benefit.
here's another option. They're like, do this or else.
Yeah, and the thing is that if as you as a company who are profit focused, are you just gonna stop selling everything there? You're most likely gonna do what they say because you want that profit or you need that profit because if Apple if Apple, if Google stopped selling their products in the EU, I mean, it wouldn't be like I doubt it wouldn't be like half of the whole entire thing, but that would be a pretty, decent profit gone from that. And also, what about the EU customers? There might be some EU customers that really like Apple or really like Samsung or really like Google, and then they are forced to switch to another company because they can't buy a new phone.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with like them forcing Apple to do stuff. I mean, when are they going to stop doing this? Because right now they're just forcing Apple to be more like Android at this point. They're forcing Apple to support the same things that Android supports. They're forcing Apple to use USB-C, which Android's had. They're forcing Apple to remove the anti-app tracking transparency, which Google never had, but in a different way. They had it where I don't exactly know how it works. They had like a Google Privacy Sandbox. In other words, the app can't track you directly. Instead, Google tracks the app and then sends that information to the app developer instead of the app developer taking it directly. I don't know how that worked, and it wasn't the best implementation. But they even in the EU, they forced Google to remove that. And when are they going to stop at this point? Because they can try to force them at least to do anything at this point, where they're like, hey, Apple, no more encryption in iMessage. Hey, Apple, guess what? FaceTime, it can't be encrypted either. The video has to go directly through our server so we can watch the videos that are going through FaceTime. When are they going to be able to stop like forcing Apple to do stuff until Apple like backs up and say, hey, guess what? Goodbye, I'm out of your market, which would take a lot for Apple to do, but at some point, Apple's not going to have it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I have no idea, about the government and stuff in the EU. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know unless like some new government shifts, like if some new people get out of office or new people get into office or whatever. I think they're just gonna keep doing this. And the thing is that it would be a significant impact for people or Apple to go out of the EU, not only for Apple, but for the customers, like, because it's just like I why is the EU doing this?
Mm.
Like, why? I think it's obvious why they're doing this because they want the information, they want control, but the government does not need like, there is a boundary where the government should and needs to control things like that, in my opinion, and
Yeah,
you've
absolutely.
just crossed that.
Yeah, for them to just, let's say if Apple doesn't comply and they just ban Apple, that is going to be bad for everyone in the EU because I'm sure a lot of people in the EU obviously use iPhone. They're going to. And then for them to just not be in the market anymore, there's going to be uproar and angry people about that. And especially because this is very similar to what the government just passed, I think it was a couple days ago. I don't have this in the doc, but DJI has been officially banned. All new drones have been officially banned.
Really?
Yes,
I s
and
but
drone
wait, hang
parts.
on.
uh, the DJI and drone parts. If they're Chinese-made parts, you can't have them in your drone, even if you're trying to make a hobbyist drone. If the main circuit board is Chinese, you can't have it. If it's DJI, you can't have it. And even like third-party, like Chinese drones, are about to be banned too. Well, not banned as in the old drones, but only new drones. Like they can't produce any more drones in the US.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to
I
Amazon right now, you'll see that DJI drones are through the roof in price right now. I'm actually gonna go search it up right now.
Okay, because the other day I saw like a post from DJI and it was confusing. I thought it said that it didn't get banned. I'm
Okay,
so confused.
it's not a ban for the old drones. It is banned for new drones only where they cannot get certified. And they flip-flopped on this. The government flip-flopped where they're like, okay, you're not gonna be banned. And then they're like, oh, you are going to be banned. Last I heard, which was yesterday, that they are banned. What, who knows? They might have flopped on it, just like the tariffs they've been flipping back and forth. They might have flipped on it, but last I heard, they are banned.
Well, that makes sense because I think I saw that post like over a month ago. Oh my goodness. That is honest. Oh, that is gonna be horrific, honestly, because so many people, and not just hobbyists, but professionals and uh, you know, people who I can't think of the word for it, but people who use them for like actual work, like surveilling power lines and stuff can't get that anymore. And if it's and this is just because there's no good American alternative right now because, I looked, all of the American companies that make drones are these small companies that you can't get a price because, it just fluctuates all the time, so you have to give you a quote and, like, you have to wait months and months to get it. Oh my this
Y-
is
Absolutely. And even the drone parts are banned. If the main circuit boards or like brains of the device are made in China, they're banned too. So even the smaller American companies might not even be able to sell drones if they're getting their parts from most of their parts from China. And yes, as of December 23rd, 2025, new DJI drones can no longer get an FCC equipment authorization, which effectively blocks new DJI drones and accessories from being legally imported and sold in the US.
oh my goodness. That is, like and I'm looking at, like, Amazon, and the prices are very high.
Mhm.
Like, the DJI Mini 3 combo is, like, $719. It used to be, like, 3
Yeah, they're right now they're just buying up all the drones right now. Like I think it was Best Buy is completely out of DJI drones altogether now.
Why? It's like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah,
Did they even
it's
did they even actually prove that it was a security risk? Because from what I know, they weren't 100% sure.
Yeah, they're not 100%. Even independent security researchers have investigated DJI and said, hey, there's nothing suspicious with DJI. They're just making drones. They're not relaying information back to China. They are like diagnostic information, but not like actual infrastructure information. But the government says, hey, there is a possibility that someday they make it an update and then start sending all the information to China. And I can also see this from security standpoint, where if like the government's using DJI drones, like to fight a battle, like look over their opponents, and then China can just snap them off and in a second, that's a legitimate concern. At the same time, that's not happening right now. That's not what's going on. This is not it being banned from government offices. This is being banned for commercial use, like people who are making infrastructure, like using drones where you can't physically get into like crawl spaces or like sewage drains. You can't physically get in there, but you can fly a drone in there. Or top of cell towers. It's dangerous to climb cell towers when drones can just check up on there, make sure everything's okay, fly back down. This is a legitimate problem.
Yeah, I this just makes me so upset because, like, the impact this will have with, like because, like, if there was a war and they were using drones for a war, then, yeah, America like, you you would think America would build their own drones for that. Like, at that point, it's, like, kind of on us for not building our own drones, but, like, this affects so many people, content creators, filmmakers, enterprise, workers, maintenance things, like you were saying, that, yeah, they may still have their drone now, but who knows with, like, the software, and then once they break, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do? Because thing is that, yeah, we have these smaller American companies. We already have to get a quote for the prices, wait months for shipping, but if we have everyone now having to get that, then we're gonna have to wait even longer. And the American drone making just does not have the infrastructure for the demand of everyone who has drones.
Yeah. And even the larger American drone making companies, they're getting their parts from China. And still, they are banned also, like main circuit boards are banned from being imported from China too. So even if like American company that's making a lot of drones can sell them, they might not be allowed to either, because if the parts are all from China, they're not allowed to sell them either. Because otherwise, what DJI will do is they would buy a company in the US and like big drones company. And they would just ship all the DJI parts and have them assembled in America so they can just keep selling. So what they did is banned that way too. But this is also a problem with hobbyist drones, like people who like building their own handcrafted drones with 3D parts, motors, circuit boards. Those are kind of banned too, because all the parts, like the big batteries, lightweight circuit boards, all of those are kind of banned now too.
Yeah, and the thing is a few months ago, actually, I watched a video from Smarter Every Day where he was making his own product in America. The thing is that it was something not even related to this, but it really just shows how hard it is to make things in America because we just don't have the infrastructure. And it's like, I get that, the government's wanting to go away from China. The thing is that we do not have the infrastructure for that yet. We have to build that up, in my opinion, first, because now we're gonna have this situation where we can't get things. And another thing is this is gonna drive prices up, and we're just gonna have more shortages now. So the like we I'm fine with us moving to America. I think it's a good thing. But we just need the infrastructure first and not yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even like the government right now is like sent, I think it was a couple $1 billion to Intel to make a new chip manufacturing plant in, I think it was Texas or somewhere around there. And the thing is, it's not going to be done for another 3 years because it takes a long time to get that manufacturing plant up and running. And I'll let you know, Intel does not have the best chips. Their chips are like on a very large nanometer, like 13, 14 nanometer, which is by today's standards, extremely power hungry and not at all efficient. And it's just, our chips right now are basically all coming from TSMC. And that's Taiwanese, which is technically China, technically not China, which we don't have like you said, we don't have the infrastructure to make these chips. We don't have the infrastructure to produce these chips. We don't have the infrastructure to sell these chips. We don't have any alternatives right now.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well then what are we supposed to do? Like, there's not an answer, frankly. I the this re yeah, there's just not an answer for that.
Now, maybe AI will come with an answer though.
Well, yeah, but then we're gonna need to get more submarines for that. We're gonna run out of submarines. Then there'll be a submarine shortage.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to this week's episode. Also, apparently there's a Samsung event happening tonight. So next week we'll have that, or next episode we'll have that, and we'll see what they're releasing then. Thank you guys for listening and have a great 2026.
We'll also be doing a special podcast episode next week instead of bi-weekly to cover all of the news from CES that's happening this week. We'll see y'all then.